Hi, I'm Jeff Dixon, and welcome to another episode of The Origins of the Dream of Freedom. Today we're going to talk about something that we've talked about before in this series. We're going to talk about the Declaration of Independence again. Why? Because the Declaration of Independence needs to be talked about, because it is such a foundational document in the founding of our nation. It proclaims that all men are created equal, endowed with inalienable rights. It is a document that echoes biblical truths about the inherent dignity of every person, Genesis 1:27. I mention it again in this episode because we live in a day and age where there are some that would look at the Declaration of Independence and say it has nothing to do with God and has nothing to do with rights that are given by God. And I want you to hear me very carefully. The people who think that, they just are bad historians. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're just ignoring what is right in front of them. Because the beauty of history is that we can take history, and when you put history into the documentation and set it in the right way, you'll begin to discover the reasons of why people did what they did. The founders recognized that true freedom is not just political. It never has been, but it's also spiritual. And if you take away the spiritual and you try to do it only with the political, it will not work. It will crash, it will burn, and it will fail. The Declaration of Independence as a founding document anchors us to that very beginning point. And that very beginning point is that we have rights that are given to us by God, by a creator. If you take the creator out of the mix, we no longer have rights. And everything else that happens behind the Declaration of Independence, everything that happens in the Constitution, everything that happens in our structural societies today unravels and falls apart and is unsustainable because we've removed the creator, which was the foundational moment, the crossroad, if you will, for the birth of this nation. See, the origin of the dream of freedom begins with God. And our founders understood that. And so they created the documentation. They created that document that declared independence for the sake of being who God created us to be. Was it going to be easy? No. Was it going to have to be fought for? Yes. Is it going to be fought for from generations? Well, this generation that we live in today is fighting for those freedoms. And they will continue to fight for those freedoms. Why? Because those are the kind of freedoms that are worth fighting for. The ignorance of those that want to take God out of the equation don't understand that if you take God out of the equation, what you have is not sustainable, and it will indeed fall and fail. But those that know God see the value and importance of God, and they don't walk away from the fight. Instead, they walk into the fight. They walk into the battle and become warriors, people of valor that are willing to fight to keep the origin of the dream of freedom alive today, just as it was when America was founded. Hold on to that dream. Keep fighting for that dream and understand the roots of the freedom that we enjoy today come from God. I'm thankful that our founders understood that. I'm thankful that there are people today who understand that. And I'm thankful today that there are people who continue the fight for freedom. Be one of those fighters. I look forward to joining you in our next episode.